couple more people coming on, but we may have a couple more people coming on maybe, but this is a pretty good turnout at this point. We got about 20 people. So I will call this meeting to order, assuming that Kevin is set for taking notes.
Yes, all good.
Okay, good. So our first order of business is the approval of the September minutes. Since we didn't have a December meeting, that's the last time we have minutes. Do we have any corrections or adjustments or anything to those minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. I don't know if we need a second.
Well, I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes by show of thumb or something? Okay, thank you. I didn't. Okay. Then on to reports of CCS staff.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone, for coming out today. I will keep my report brief. You've got a pretty robust agenda I'm excited to hear about. So I want to start with CCS staff news. So unfortunately, Marcin will continue indefinitely on leave, which is why you have me and Bob today instead of Marcin. So continue to send any issues you have to the help desk, and we'll make sure that they're addressed by the appropriate staff member. We are excited to announce that we have welcomed Kiara Lyons to our team. She is in a new position called Member Services Associate. So she will be doing training and general support. So hopefully you'll all be seeing her at training sessions coming up soon. I know she's working with Deborah on the Find More Illinois rollout. As I hope you all know, we upgraded to Polaris 7.5 on February 27th. So if you haven't yet, please make sure you update your local offline files. Our best practice, I believe, is to do that about once a month. We did have an issue a couple months back where that site the download site wasn't appropriately password protected, but we did send out an incident report to everyone on that. But if there's any questions, now would be a good time. Okay. And then we are working, Mark noted that we didn't have a meeting last quarter for this group. We are working on a member engagement project, which will include a survey about technical group use, utility, schedules, etc.
The login for that meeting.
Which will be released within the next 2 weeks. So please keep an eye on that. As we're planning our schedule for next year, we're looking at frequency of meetings as well. If some committee or some technical groups would be better with like an ad hoc schedule that we meet when needed. So we're really interested in your feedback before we go around making a bunch of changes. So please watch for that. It'll be going to, I believe, department heads, but I will, it'll be in the newsletter as well. There will be information released about it. And Deborah is working on that if you have any questions about that. Any questions for me on anything in my report or otherwise?
I don't have any.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Moving on, we have no old business. So we do have a lot of items that were requested to be headed to the agenda that Rebecca referred to. So we'll dive right into new business. The first thing under new business is as we only meet 4 times a year, our next meeting will be our last of the fiscal year, in which we elect new officers. Right now, we have Kevin as secretary, and Michael from Wilmette is our vice chair and would be the presumed chair-elect for next year. We will need a secretary and a new vice chair for the unless Kevin wants to continue being secretary. We will need those at the next meeting, so we'll have so we can vote on that. Please consider volunteering. None of these positions is massive time sink, since we don't meet that frequently, and our meetings tend to be pretty short most of the time. So at any rate, if you are interested in serving in any of those positions, please let me or Rebecca know, so we can put together a slate for next year that we can vote on at the June meeting. If we don't hear anything, we'll have to sort of ask around and get some volunteers so that we can keep going. That said, I think we can move on to the next item, which is the first of our requested topics, which is the self-check equipment survey. That was an item suggested by John Sabala from Fox River Valley. Would you like to comment on that, John?
Can you repeat that? I wasn't listening there for a second. Sorry.
So you had submitted an item of requesting that we do a self-check equipment survey, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that is correct. So yeah, the library here is, we have these old bibliotheca self-checks that are aging, and we've taken them off maintenance because it's just an astronomical cost, I think, to keep them on maintenance. They're tanks. They're pretty reliable, but they're showing signs of aging. Scanners are malfunctioning. We've had to jerry-rig a couple. So we're in the market for new self-checks, and I was wondering what everybody was using out there. Pull up my email. So the things that I'm interested in are vendor names, breakdown frequency, how long does it take for a vendor to repair usually, maybe model numbers if you had them, or features that you're using besides the normal reading an RFID and checking out a material. And then also, if you're using any kind of special customization. Well, so also I was interested in check-ins, or what you're all doing for check-ins, as far as not using an AMH, but some kind of automated RFID bin that you have, or a shelf that you put the book on and it checks in, and what kind of workflows go with those, that equipment.
Okay, I don't. We could, particularly with the level of detail they're asking for, maybe it'd be best if we had some sort of form. I don't know if if CCS has like a Google Forms or Microsoft Forms thing that we could send out to the group with all of the criteria that you'd like.
Yeah, if John wants to forward me. It sounds like he's got a tidy list in his email. If you want to forward that, I can pop it into
Sure.
a Microsoft form and get that out in the next couple days.
That'd be awesome.
Hey, John, I just have one input for you. So we have 6 Biblioteca self-checks right now. We don't need 6. They are in great shape. Next budget year, we are probably going to put 3 out for sale at a discounted price if you really want them, but they're in great shape. So just keep that
Is it
in
the-
mind. I know you're,
Are they new ones?
the outer shell is not new, but it's Windows 10 upgraded last year.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Our next item is another. This one is from Smruti, a vendor list pool, which I think we've done in the past, kind of a spreadsheet type thing where we list all the vendors for. I don't know if we have a existing thing that's posted somewhere that's now just really out of date, or if it got so out of date that it's been culled. Can Smruti, or hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Smruti or Rebecca comment on that?
I will just quickly say I could not tell you where that I remember the spreadsheet from our old website, and even on our old website it was pretty out of date, so I can't say if that even still exists. And I think at this point, if it was something the group wanted to do, I would recommend starting from scratch. I also would say that I'd want to lean on this group to develop a sustainable method for maintaining it. I mean, I think to Mark's point, it's something we've tried in the past and we just don't get updates for it. And so it becomes out of date pretty quickly. We're happy to host something. At this point, I can pop out a survey about self-check units, but a sort of larger project of maintaining a repository, I would say right now CCS doesn't have the staff bandwidth to plan it. But if someone gave us some specs of here's what I think we should try, I'm sure we could support it in terms of again, spinning up a survey or adding a page on our website. So I'll pause there.
I also think that if we do that, I think that would be great, but we can't really rely on people to proactively be like, we switched vendors for this. It's just not going to happen. But maybe if there was a yearly survey that goes out, if kind of we do the work to get it set up in the first place, CCS hosts it, and then yearly a survey gets sent out with what are, your things for self-check, for AMH, for this, that, and the other. People still might not reply, but it's a lot more likely than just being like, hey, remember whenever you get something new to also update this list.
I can come up with a very simple suggestion. We can keep a Google Doc or a running document. And right now we'll have to update with whatever we have. But as and when people get new, they just add what they got new to that sheet with the date they got it. So the problem with the vendor list is I know we also want to know what others considered and rejected, but at the same time, we want the most important thing is what else is there other than what we consider. So just having that list is also going to be a great starting point rather than asking, hey, what do you use? That will automatically be populated in that sheet.
Yeah, I do think that probably the putting this on a schedule, like saying every June we send out something saying, hey, make sure to update. I mean, updating it if you remember to update it when you change vendors or something like that, that'd be great. But otherwise, probably just set up a schedule aligned with, I don't know, IPLAR or something, where it's every year just double check your vendors on vendor list and update anything that might have changed in the past year. And certainly some sort of shared spreadsheet sounds like a good way to do this. We just need to, someone needs to create it, and then we need to share, get that posted for easy access on the CCS website. I don't. Yeah. If you want, let's see. I can look into this. Maybe I can contact you, Smoothie, and then try to figure out a good format for that. Does that sound good? Okay. Next item is ticketing systems from Michael at Wilmette. Would you like to? You're asking for what ticketing systems people are using?
Yeah, kind of. I'm looking at a couple right now. I think Ninja One and Happy Fox is what we're looking at right now. I just was curious what else people were using, or if anyone's had success with the other systems. So that's all.
We've been using Spiceworks for quite a while. It was locally installed and now it's only a web-based app, but it works. Pretty basic.
Michael, the question I would ask you is, whom do you want to use it for? Do you want it just for IT, or do you want to use it for other departments?
That is a good question. It's going to be used for IT mainly, and then facilities as well, is what the director has asked me to do, to have a ticking system for both of our departments that we can use. So yeah.
Are you looking for any kind of breakdown analysis, things like that, or are you just looking for something that says, hey, there's an outstanding ticket, hasn't been worked on, and sends reminders out, things like that?
Breakdown analysis would be nice, but at the same time, since I have nothing, it would be better to have something. So I guess that's what I'm also looking at as well.
We use a product called Support Systems. I believe it's $18 a month. And you can have as many users as you want. We only have 2 users, one for the IT, one for facilities, and tickets come in and we take care of them. It keeps you updated if you want to. It has due dates. It has things where you can say I resolved it or canceled or closed it. It doesn't do any breakdown analysis work, but it's good for, just to know what's outstanding.
So currently I use SolarWinds Web Help Desk. It's in-house, it's not in cloud, and it's $140 per technician, and it's doing everything that you say, but it's falling short for us because we have other departments onboarding. So I'm moving to Zendesk.
Oh, you're moving to Zendesk. Okay.
But my requirements are very different. We have communications department onboarding. IT and facilities is already on help desk.
Okay.
And you probably know CCS uses Freshdesk. We have legacy pricing, so I'm not sure how it compares to the new pricing, but it has been, I think, very affordable for us and has various levels of customization. For our plan, the reporting is pretty basic, but it gets the job done for us in terms of organization and categories and notifications and all of that. There is reporting. We just can't customize the reports at our payment level.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
And we just I hadn't even thought of it as a ticketing system, but essentially we're using the project management website Basecamp for ticketing. Mainly for our facilities. That's why I hadn't even considered it. but I realized, hey, I always seeing these Basecamp updates where someone's saying, hey, facilities, can you take care of this thing? So we're effectively using it in that way.
It as that. Okay.
Yeah, I've used Basecamp in a similar way before, like, I mean, again, with sort of projects, but I do like the way it kind of notifies you about things. So, I mean, that's an approach I think is worth considering. Definitely seems to work for some things.
Good to know. I'm writing them all down. Thanks so much.
Okay. Our next item is data warehouse solutions for library service reports from Tyler. And see, are you online, Tyler? Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so past couple of years I've been using Looker Studio for kind of like dashboarding stuff for internal and external, like for our library board. And I have those dashboards currently hooked up to like kind of Google Sheets, but I'm kind of meeting the capacity of them, especially if we want to move into some more like robust reporting and kind of like joining up all of our different data sources like together so we can kind of see usage across all of them. So I've been exploring different kind of like data warehouse solutions. I was curious if anybody else has implemented anything and what you all are doing with that. So
we have a solution that might not be for everyone, but I'll say what we're doing. We have an internal data collection website that is using that puts most data into MySQL servers, MySQL databases, and then now we have that. As a couple years ago, we started synchronizing that using Power BI to make a SharePoint like pages with Power BI reports on them that are built off of that data. So that and so we have that in different categories. And we did engage a company for some of that setup, and that was probably not necessary. They weren't as helpful as we were hoping they'd be. But so far it worked fairly well. Power BI has a lot of nice features for at least for visualization.
If I could add one comment, and then I'm going to ask Bob to talk about his situation at CCS. So at a recent governing board meeting, we did some brainstorming activities with the board on their sort of administrative strategic data needs. And a thing that came up over and over that I think Tyler is very clearly working on is integrating ILS data with other sources, but they're thinking about like at the consortium level. So this is, as you may imagine, pretty massive if we were to develop or find a solution that would look at the consortium level as well as library level and allow libraries to like integrate their own data. So anyway, it's a whole big thing. So on our draft strategic goals for next year, which have not yet been approved. So this is not a final, like, yes, we're definitely doing this, but we are going to be doing essentially a deep dive into existing in-market data analytics products to see if anything could potentially meet these dreamy needs from governing board. And I said, dream big, tell me the best thing that would possibly exist. So I don't say dreamy in a negative way, I say it in an exciting, aspirational way. So CCS will be looking into this next year, most likely, but I understand that is not meeting immediate needs, and I am very interested in this conversation. So thanks, Tyler, for putting it on the agenda. And Bob, if you're here, can you talk about what you're doing at CCS?
We have been since the beginning, since we launched with Polaris, we have been harvesting data from the Polaris database and storing it locally. Not all data is harvested, not all data is retained, but we have some history that potentially could be loaded into a data warehouse to start things off. So we have what you might call connectors that can get to the Polaris database and pull down data. We've also recently subscribed to Tableau, which is it's a nice tool for visualization as well as some of the others that have been mentioned. But so that's about it. We don't have a data warehouse software running, locally or on premise. So it's pretty much just homegrown stuff. That's it.
I have a question. What is the data warehousing kind of reporting and doing for the libraries that are wanting this?
So for us, so I guess if you're saying like a rudimentary thing where I'm just using Google Sheets, all together. So I am creating like a board dashboard. So instead of like doing like a board report where all of our stats are just dumped into like a Word doc or an Excel sheet and given to them, they have a dashboard that is interactive. So we have 2 locations. They can, use limiters or filters to like just see the stats, based upon location. They can adjust the dates to see, however they want. And then like there's essentially a dashboard for each kind of like major section. So like checkouts, it's breaking down like our different, vendors for e-checkout, ebooks, like Overdrive, Hoopla, Canopy, different things along those lines. So some of it is used. So that's like our external thing that you're using for decision making. It's nice to put a face to Bob's name because I sent him a lot of report requests for different things. So we've been looking things like at transaction levels. So like we did a recent thing for our collection services manager, analyzing our hotspot checkouts like at transaction levels. So just kind of going beyond how many total checkouts we have, but like who is checking them out. And then I combine that with like other GIS software too. So like map where patrons are living like in our community, and then creating, dashboards to analyze that so they can make decisions along those lines. So I think if we can then start looking at, like I said, things with the data warehouse, we could look at across, all services. So if we have something like in common, like a library card number, we can then, combine all that data together and then look at total usage or who's using things. So that's how we're using it. So I don't know if Mark has a different.
Tyler, I don't use it, but my library uses Tableau with Gale Analytics.
Okay, yeah, no thanks. Yeah, I love Tableau. It's just so expensive, so especially for internal usage. But that's amazing though. I like that.
Yeah, we went with Power BI because it was cheaper for us than Tableau. Particularly if you want multiple people to be able to modify the reports. I mean, Power BI still isn't free for at least for a shared report modification. You can use it for free to build your own reports. We use it for basically it's for the director and management staff mainly to review statistics in a graphical way and compare things. And so those are the main people who have Power BI licenses. We also feeds into our board reporting.
Would you consider I know we use OpenGov for our reporting. But I wouldn't consider that a data warehouse software, more of a presentation type software.
I'd agree. Yeah. This is more. We've never really managed to we have a subscription to OpenGov, which we're going to let lapse. It was purchased under a previous director, and no one really was excited to use it, so we never really implemented it. But yeah, from my experience with it, it is much more limited in the kind of data. You have to have a very tightly formatted data that goes in for creating very specific types of charts, which is fine if you've got the people who are doing that, but it requires some regular maintenance that, to my experience, can't be particularly automated. While what we have is pretty automated. There are some manual aspects to it, but we have a lot of automation in the data collection process and the data and analysis process.
I guess I guess maybe this is a question mark, maybe this is too specific, and we can have if you're open to it, like a chat outside, but like, are you manually then updating all that stuff to your your SQL servers, like uploading all that data, or is anything like connected through kind of like what Bob was talking about with like a connector to a service, or is it essentially running reports through like Overdrive or whatever, and then download the CSV and then uploading it?
We have a mix of things, but most of it is not a direct connection. There are some stats that people enter manually via a form on a monthly basis. There's some stats that are entered by downloading logs and then uploading the logs and having them processed. So then that's semi-automated at least. And then I have a small number of things where the data is coming normally like through a daily report that's emailed, and then that's almost fully automated, where it's going to a specific email account, and then a script like analyzes what comes in the email account, finds the files that it's looking for, and processes those in a pretty much hands-off way. But that's a very small portion of what we have. Most of it is hand entered via forms, or where possible, if there's a log or something that we can download through Simply Reports or from some other reporting mechanism like EasyProxy or something like that, then it's that we take the logs and process them.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that makes sense. Okay. So I guess Rebecca or Bob, I mean, do you foresee, like kind of the connector you're talking about to like a local, like SQL database? I mean, would it be in the realm of possibility, like so I've been talking to our department, like at the city of Evanston, and about setting up kind of something similar to what Mark was talking about, where it would feed into our own SQL databases, like Evanston Public Library, like ILS data, or would something like that impossible?
And anything is possible.
Okay. Okay. I just didn't know, like,
so
okay.
we could, without over promising, I mean, we could definitely collect whatever data you're looking for. We can harvest that, on whatever schedule, and make it available from, like a local server. But I can't promise that we can allow you to connect to the Polaris servers. So, but it would be similar to doing that.
Okay.
I mean, we could talk about it, but it could be as simple as a flat file. You could end up connecting to a database on a local server, that's already populated with the data you're looking for. You know, and you would harvest it that way out of the database. Or you would, like I said, you would get a flat file. You could download that. You could automate, you know, the download. I know Winnetka does that. So yeah, there's anything's possible.
Okay. All right. I just want to see if it was just like a flat no, that it's not, nothing can happen. Okay. All right. No, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, I
Well,
mean,
thank you.
we can talk about it, sure.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone's input on that question. Thank you.
Okay, if that's everything for that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is computer replacement criteria from Nora.
We are going to be replacing all of our staff computers. But I was just wondering, we're trying to decide who's getting desktops and who's getting laptops. And I was just wondering if anyone had any established criteria of what sort of staff are eligible for a laptop and docking station versus desktop computer.
I'm certain we're weird. Pretty much everyone has a laptop here. So that's, there are a tiny number of exceptions where people don't have laptops, or if someone is, a lot of part-time circ people won't have a dedicated computer, and they'll, but even our circ desk, we are using laptops in a docking station. So yeah. I think we're probably unusual though.
We have PCs everywhere. Very few laptops. The laptops are for people who work from home on occasion. And I have a few extras for special purposes, but basically everything's on a PC. Were you interested in replacement interval? Was that a question as well, or no?
No.
Okay.
For us, we like with the exception of Circ, our public service desks, anyone who staffs those have a laptop, because they take their laptop to the service desk and then back to their desk in the back workroom as well. And then most of the managers have laptops, or anyone who works from home. But folks like Circ and tech services, who are all stationed at singular points and usually have extra hardware like scanners and whatnot, they all just have desktops. So we do.
And so with that, so you just have docking stations at the service desks, and
Yep.
What's the turnaround time for someone bringing their computer and docking and getting everything situated and ready to start work?
I mean, relatively small. They'll usually just
Okay.
close their laptop if they're coming from the back, and so it goes to sleep, and they just have to wake it up when they connect to the docking station. So.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question. We have a lot of part-timers. How do you deal with laptops and part-timers?
Our part-time service desk staff, so even library associates, all have laptops, because the service desks are set up with docking stations. So for them to staff the service desk, they have to have a laptop.
And so then, are they required to keep them at work so that they don't work when they're not scheduled, or are there policies surrounding that?
I mean, we make it clear to the staff that they are not required or expected to work when they are not at work or not on the clock. But we don't have any explicit policies that say they have to leave it at work. The only policy we have is one that when we assign them the device, they are effectively responsible for it. So if they feel more comfortable making sure they have it with them, so that they know where it is that doesn't get stolen, great. If they want to leave it in a drawer at their desk at work, and they're comfortable with that, that's fine too. But basically, if they're negligent, they're on the hook for it. If it's something accidental or something basically in the line of duty, we have accidental damage protection on the laptops, but we just sort of have to figure it out when anything happens. And thankfully, we've had very few incidents other than some like accidental drops or cracked screens, but again, none of that was like explicitly negligent. So, yeah.
Nice. And how large is your staff? Ish.
I don't entirely know, but we do have about 40 laptops assigned among staff.
Okay.
We're actually very similar to Aaron there. So we have about 40, a little over 40 staff. Number of laptops probably is somewhere in the 30s.
Okay. So
Um,
how often do you guys refresh your laptops? And then I'll tell you what model we are following.
how often do we refresh them, replace them?
Yeah.
Once every 5 years.
Okay. So I have 90 staff. And right now we are giving laptops to all managers. Now we also have a category called programmers who need some kind of computer connectivity wherever they're doing programming. So we have 2 or 3 programming laptops for departments who do programming. So with just managers and programming floating laptops, we have about 30, 35 laptops.
We follow a pretty similar model though. So a lot of our managers have laptops, or if they want a laptop, they can get a laptop. So a few prefer desktop, and the majority of our staff are using desktop. The criteria for like other staff is basically we have engagement staff who are out of the building a lot, and so we've issued laptops to them as well. But we're pretty much for majority of people, it's like a one device per person. So if they have a desktop, they probably don't get a laptop. Aside from managers who need, sometimes they need a remote desktop into something. So we have some remote desktop support as well. So, so if they're doing that from home, they need a laptop and whatnot.
And for those of you like Tyler, who, people have their individual desktops and stuff, for your public service desks, like, are you using roaming profiles and people log in as themselves at the service desk? Do you use generic logins? Because we use roaming profiles and they're a nightmare with the logins. And so if we could do something to get around that, that sounds great.
Yeah, so for the majority of our public service desks, it's a generic login. So it's a login typically unique to that computer, and then people just do that. So like we use Google Workspaces, so most of the stuff that people are doing is in the cloud anyway. So they're not really working off like local drives or their own personal drive anymore. So it really is an issue. Or it's a lot of as people were saying, it's a lot of part-time staff working the desk, and so they're just kind of working the desk. They don't really need access to a drive or anything like that. So yeah, the majority of it is a generic login for that station.
Thank you.
The only generic logins that we have are at the membership services desk. So there's just 2 PCs that use the generic login, and that's for a very specific reason. Other than that, everybody has their own. We do not do roaming profiles, but everybody is encouraged to save their documents to either OneDrive or SharePoint, and then they can get to it wherever they are as long as they have internet connection. And now I think OneDrive, you can sync your computer with your OneDrive. So if you drop a file on your desktop, it's going to sync with OneDrive, and you don't have to constantly move them into OneDrive. It's an automated process. So that eliminates the need for roaming profiles, which we never really did. I played around with it a bit, but it is a pain in the butt.
I'll second Ken. We were on roaming profile forever and we've moved away. If you do Office 365, one user can log into up to 5 devices.
Yeah, we just recently started using Microsoft 365, and before that, we had generic logins for most of our workstations. But now we've switched over to doing individual logins, but again without roaming profiles. some people have started using OneDrive, but I think the majority of them, we have a network drive that's accessible from every PC on the network. So most people share files using that.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. It's very helpful. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, our next item is platforms for managing documentation, suggested by Brian Wilson. Is Brian here? I do not see him. Is there other interest in this topic since he requested it, but it's not here? I don't know. We don't have. I mean, I guess our platform for managing documentation is SharePoint, such as it is. But
Yeah, that's what we do as well.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Actually, I'll mention
yeah.
something we use. So we use Slack for sort of an internal chat system. We have an add-on product to that called Slab that we started using as sort of a knowledge base. You can you create articles and attach documents to them. So we've sort of started. We're sort of using it as a essentially an enhanced version of our employee manual or our internal procedures. And we uploaded the documentation we had for that into Slab, and we're sort of always sort of adding stuff to it as situations come up. But yeah, it's a pretty easy to use system, very flexible. So yeah, that's what we were using.
Okay, I'm just going to throw out names just so that people have more solutions. One is IT Glue. So if there are technical documentation, you can put it there. Other is because I'm moving to Zendesk, although it's a customer ticketing system, it also has this whole knowledge base module where you can upload articles and it can act as a parallel thing to SharePoint.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next item is we have a number of quite a few things from Smriti that we're not going to go through. So, which I think
Mark,
we're all.
you didn't have to put everything together today. You could have spaced it out for the next meeting.
Yeah, we don't have these meetings that frequently, and you'd be waiting months. And if you're interested in them, I imagine other people are interested in them as well. So I included them. So the first one is EasyProxy and alternatives. I know we're using EasyProxy hosted. As far as alternatives, I'm blanking on the name of it. I know Indian Trails uses
Open Athens.
Open Athens. That's correct. Yeah.
So here's the background. I have inherited a web server which has a lot of scripting that I don't want to support because then I'll have to learn scripting. So I want to go hosted. I mean, I can learn, but with everything that I'm changing, it's like what else is left to change now? So EasyProxy gave me a quote of 7,500 with 4,500 for hosted. And I don't know if that is the right number. So we are 65,000 patron base. We serve 65,000 people and they have given me a quote of 4,500, which I will pay annually. And I'm like, okay, that's a high number. I'll get a good web help desk in it. So,
I mean, that's a bit more than what we're paying. We're a smaller population base. So I think that I'm sure they're basing it on population base. But it's, yeah, EasyProxy hosted is not cheap. But it wound up, we used to have our own EasyProxy server, and the way their pricing is now for their EasyProxy software is not super cheap either. So we were like, well, if we're gonna have this thing again, we stopped using EasyProxy for a while, and then we started using it again. So if we're gonna start using it again, we figured might as well just do hosted if we're gonna pay them a bunch of money anyway, and then we don't need to worry about maintaining the infrastructure. But I don't know how Open Athens compares price-wise.
So
Does
we-
anyone here? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So we currently have EasyProxy on premise, and we are moving over to Open Athens hosted. I got prices from both EasyProxy and it's EBSCO who has the Open Athens. And Open Athens is a more cost effective, we'll say. And we're in the process now. It's a 6 to 8 week process to migrate over. And we just started a couple of weeks ago. So that's about all the information I can give you on that. But it was cheaper than EasyProxy.
Okay, because this project is for my next budget year and the website is going to be upgraded before that. So I need to fix this part before the website upgrade. Okay, thank you.
We use EasyProxy. We just renewed and we use it on site. And it's only like $800 for us a year. So I don't know what, I know it's more for hosted.
Hosted.
But we only have, I think, less than 25 databases, maybe even less than that we use it for. Population in the district is about 70,000 people. So that number you threw out was really confusing to me.
Yeah,
So-
so your population is like us and they haven't asked us how many databases we have. They've just asked population. And we have 30 or more databases.
Yeah, the hosted that lines up. I mean, the hosted is considerably more expensive than the paying. But my perspective was kind of weird. We got EasyProxy a long time ago before it was owned by OCLC, and originally it was like I don't know, $500 for a perpetual license forever.
We were in the same boat, but
Yeah,
that
same with
perpetual
us.
license stopped at some version number we couldn't upgrade
Yeah.
past. So that's when we went to hosted, because on-site was less, but not significantly less. And we're like, I don't want to have our infrastructure, our public-facing infrastructure in the building if I can avoid it.
That's exactly the reason, one of the reasons we're moving to a hosted option is because I have, my EasyProxy server. It's a vulnerability, it's internet facing. I want to eliminate that. So just another reason.
Thank you.
I just want to comment 1 second to say that, the OCLC EasyProxy is definitely super expensive and they charge you through the nose for it. However, when there are problems, like I did run into a problem with a hosted one at another library I was at where I think it was being blocked or something like that for some reason. I couldn't figure out why, versus like the OCLC version, if it got blocked or something like that, because it is a national organization, like you don't really have to worry about something like that, because if it's being blocked, they can take care of it. So just as a point that, yeah, it's expensive, but that is also, something to consider, I guess. And then finally, the Open Athens is definitely a good alternative. I think we were going to look at that, but we never had moved on it. So just a couple 2 cents, I guess, here. So.
Okay, thank you. Next item, use of printing codes. This is not something we've done at all. As far as having different departments or whatever use different codes for printing, it would be, I guess, if you're trying to manage costs, it sounds like a good idea, but we have not done it.
Okay, so what it's coming from is our printers and copiers are so good that all our programming needs are being printed currently on our in-house printers and copiers. They don't want to send it out and we don't want to discourage them from that. But then programming has a budget for printing, and that's separate from the staff budget. So how do we sort it out? So that's why we want to do printer codes to begin with, because our printers and copiers are due to be upgraded this next month. So just before that, if anybody is going to do it.
I know that's something that PaperCut should be. I know that's one of the things it was designed to handle. We have that, but we only use it for patron-facing operations. But I believe you can do printing codes with it, but you'd have to contact someone who's done that.
I don't want to use PaperCut for any more than I'm using. So I would rather go to my vendor and ask them to set up codes for me. I just wanted to know if anybody's done it, or else maybe by next quarter, I'll give you feedback how it went.
I know we have them on our copier, but it's like a City of Evanston thing. So it's not very helpful comment, but because I don't know what it is, but we do have them. So our copiers are that. So we have like a virtual print queue that people can print to, and then they can essentially go to any copier in the city to release the job after typing in their code. So I have a personal copier code. It only applies to the copier printers. It doesn't apply to like, other printers, but those are black and white printers. So the only way you can print colors through that copier in the building. So
I just sorry, I got it. I was gonna say, for copier codes, one library I was at did use them. We used them based on department, basically, I think is how we did it. And so basically you had a department code. So like if you were printing something that they also had personal codes for people too. So like if you were doing some kind of personal copying as well, you're supposed to use your personal code and then the department code for department tasks, basically, right?
How did it go for your staff? Like, do they really follow it? Or what kind of training did you have to do?
There's a mix of people who were there at the time. The old timers kind of followed it, basically, who had been used to the system. Bringing people on and explaining it to them, I feel like it might have been hit or miss. And I honestly feel like the personal codes were kind of a waste of time almost, because most people weren't, doing photocopying and printing like with personal stuff, but they were using department ones. And as long as I kind of made that clear to people and like, look, if you're coming up here to print this, use this code to release it, they were pretty good about following that. But we only had like a handful of staff. Like I think we only had adult services and youth services, I think, who used it mainly. So I mean, if I'm talking like 2, maybe 3 departments, I'm kind of thinking who else did. But I mean, other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of it. And our graphics department at the time too, they like for the booklets and brochures and everything, they had an outside vendor for. And so they would just contact the outside vendor and do it that way, because it made sense for them, because there are only like 1 or 2 of them there. So they're like,
Oh, our graphics used to do that before, but they like our copiers so much, 90% is in-house now.
that's interesting. Wow. I don't know. For me, it would be like a time-saving thing. I guess it depends on the vendor, though. I think the library had a good vendor that they worked with, and I feel like that also makes a difference as well for the outside. But yeah, so anyway, but yeah, it did work out for what it was.
So that's perfectly aligned to what I'm planning to do. So I just have adult services, youth services, mobile services doing programming. So I'm trying to set up a programming, communications, which is graphics, and rest all will just be staff. So 3 codes.
Yep, no, and that works then. Yeah, and as long as you're just making sure the handful of people that are using those other codes use them, should be fine.
Okay, next item, patron-facing payment solutions, credit card processors. I know that this may be partly inspired by the Comprise switch over. I know we switched from using Comprise on our self checks to back to the Easy Pay.
Okay, question, because I'm supposed to take over this project soon. It's not here, but it's for July. So I understand that EasyPay can take care of the online stuff. And I'm just asking because I haven't researched. How does it connect to the cash drawer?
You can get credit card readers from them.
Okay, so it'll be pretty seamless converting from Comprise to EasyPay?
I think so. I mean, I actually didn't even handle that here for the most part. But we can hook them. You can hook up the credit card. We use them with our self checks. We don't have one hooked up to a register or anything. But yeah, I think the self check just needs reconfigure need to be reconfigured so it pointed to EasyPay's servers instead of Comprise.
Does anyone else use EasyPay with the cash drawer? No, okay. So then how do you use how do you use with the cash drawer then?
Or if you're talking about a cash register, we don't have a credit card solution for the cash register, but we do have Comprise kiosks that we use Comprise for our computer management and printing. And so they have coin towers that you could buy with these kiosks, and they have a connection into the iOS Polaris, and so we can pay things via credit card that are in the iOS through Comprise. So that is how we are handling that. We are also using EasyPay as well, of course, with the website, but we've had Comprise for a while now, and currently no plan to move away from that.
Okay.
We're
Thank
also using both. We have Comprise and
ePay.
EasyPay.
Is it EasyPay or ePay?
I think it's ePay.
I think, yeah, you can blame me. I said EasyPay, and everybody's saying it.
Easy
I think
proxy.
it's
Yeah.
But the way the cash drawer works is that when you complete a transaction, you print a receipt, the receipt printer sends a signal over to cash drawer and pops it open. So I don't know how that works with ePay, but you know, our credit card terminals are all connected to Comprise.
So you have ePay and Comprise.
We have them both, yeah.
So Comprise is for whatever is in the library and ePay is for the online part.
Yes.
Okay, so
Because Comprise interfaces with the ILS. So if somebody pays a fine or a fee, their account is credited. That doesn't happen with ePay. That's a separate process that you have to do manually.
I mean, it's my understanding that we did get credit card readers from ePay that do that. So I could investigate further. I mean, we've had ePay, the website version, for forever.
Right.
But this is when Comprise got when the contract with Comprise and CCS and Polaris or whatever that is expired, we wound up switching to ePay for the readers themselves, which are on our self checks.
okay, so if there are three parts, one part is online, ePay does it. Other part is credit card, mostly ePay does it. So the only part left is the cash drawer, which is directly connected to ILS. So if somebody is just ad hoc paying something, will that be taken by ePay? So that's the question. Okay.
Yeah, Tyler noted in the chat that ePay is through the state treasurer, which I'm sure you know, Smriti, but they're really helpful in terms of talking through potential solutions. They don't know a ton about Polaris, but they do have more than one option. CCS is, largely only involved with like the Power Pack payment solution through ePay. But they do have like kiosks and other tools available, and it sounds like some libraries might be using them, but to John or Ken, I'm not sure who said it, the integration with Polaris is pretty limited to through Power Pack. So if a fee is in Power Pack, you should be able, or if a fee is in the ILS, you should be able to pay it through Power Pack with a credit card. But I would, if you're unsure of, again, like working with a cash drawer, et cetera, the treasurer should be able to help you out, the treasurer's office.
Rebecca, while you're here, does CCS provide any discounts for ePay?
You know, that's the thing. ePay is essentially free through the state treasurer.
Okay.
So
Oh.
if you settle your funds into an Illinois funds account, then there's a $10 fee that is essentially like waived. So it's like $10 a month if you don't do that. And again, all the pricing is available through the state treasurer's website. So we do not provide a discount, but it's already a state funded service, so we don't have to.
Thank you.
Okay. Know before. We've discussed know before fish alerts before. Anyone have anything? Who's using? We're using a competing service, but anyone want to speak specifically to about know before and their experience with it?
Yeah, we've been using KnowBe4 since 2017. It's been a very solid program. They do negotiate price. You just hold the line. They'll give you a decent price. It has helped our staff. Our clicks are way down. You can tell when we got a new user because they click on everything and they quickly learn. And our staff is very skeptical of unsolicited emails. So it works. It really works well. The whole program and the training, and I send out videos, 5-minute videos every month on just very specific techniques or tools, I guess. The videos are entertaining. They're not dry. They can be. I mean, they've got a ton of material there that you could use. Posters, we do that as well. My opinion is to keep it in front of them, keep it in their face all the time so they don't forget. If you tell them just once or twice, you know, they forget this stuff. So we're constantly sending out phishing emails, go out once a week to everybody. It's randomized. I got nothing bad to say about it.
Okay, so the reason I put this on agenda item, so we are already using KnowBe4. So this is not to advocate for anybody to buy KnowBe4, although I love it, but I wanted to show a demo of free feature that's come up. So we do have an IT help desk. So our problem is after KnowBe4 phishing training and everything, people started reporting everything, but they don't have a standard way of reporting. Like if 4 people are reporting, how do I come to know there is a pattern? Some people, they just delete the email and they think, okay, I've deleted it, I've acted on it, and they don't report it. And it could be a pattern that's undetected. So how do I go ahead with that? So KnowBe4 has a free fish alert button that you can integrate with your Office 365 Outlook. And it comes in Outlook. You just click the button and you say which email it goes to. So that goes to our IT help desk. So I just wanted to show how that button looks. So here, and if we go to my email, so can you see this? So if this is the email that I receive and I click on this button, which is the fish alert button, and that's it. It's going to generate a IT ticket for me because I put my IT ticket email address. So then how people report, like sometimes people report it as an attachment, sometimes people just forward the emails. So I was getting all kinds of inputs from everybody, and half of it was not usable, or half of them were not reporting. So this really improves the accessibility. And the reason why I shared it is you don't need to buy anything from KnowBe4 to use it. It's completely free.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know the service that we're using has a similar button, but I think that's just part of it. And it will. The one we have looks like a fish. If you click on one of the test messages, it will say, "Good job, you identified a fake phishing test." But otherwise, it will report the phishing message as the actual phishing message. Okay, thank you. And the final item in our submitted items is email spam filtering products. Were you looking to find out what spam filtering products people are using.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I'm using Barracuda right now. So what else is everybody else using?
We're just using Microsoft's built-in protection options for yeah, like I forgot with Defender or whatever they changed the name, I think, but yeah, we're using that as part of Office 365, but nothing really else.
Office 365 has some pretty good filtering techniques. You can do some other things, like limiting top level domains. I used to get a lot of phishing emails from .ru, which is Russia, so I just blocked that whole domain. And there are, if you look them up, there's hundreds of these top level domains, and some of them are, I guess, scored as being, really put out a lot of phishing and scam emails. So you simply block those, and that's eliminated quite a bit of stuff. You just have to be careful because .info was one of them, but I know there's some libraries using .info. You guys use it, so you gotta look through it and pick them out. But I probably blocked 40 or 50 different top level domains that are all identified as being problematic. And I did that a number of years ago, and I've never heard, or nobody's ever come to me and said, hey, this guy keeps sending me emails and I'm not getting them. Then I might look at that or something. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Nobody's using Proofpoint? Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other issues from the floor that people are, any other questions that anyone has that they'd like the group to?
Mark, yeah, I have, I just wanted to ask, actually Justin wanted to know this, but he had to leave the meeting, about calendaring systems, because we were using Evanced, and we extended our subscription until the end of August, which is when they completely get shut down. And I was just interested what other libraries are using, if they're in the same situation where they have to move. We have made a decision that we're going to LibCal. And so I guess I also wanted to know if other libraries had migrated from Evanced to LibCal, and was it as straightforward as it appears on the surface to be? Because we want to, we're going to actually run the two simultaneously, and we're coordinating it to when our next newsletter comes out. Anyway, oh, Communico, somebody uses. Okay, a couple people use Communico.
Yeah, we used to use LibCal, but now have switched to Library Market.
Okay.
But I mean, LibCal worked for us. In fact, there was some resistance in some departments from moving away from LibCal. It was part of however, we wanted a more integrated web presence with the calendar, and Library Market offered that.
Okay.
I was gonna say Park Ridge Library uses LibCal. You want to contact someone over there, they can probably help you.
Okay.
Their services department there. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have one more quick thing. Hopefully, is people put in the chat. It isn't gonna be a long discussion. Just curious, like incident tracking software. I think I put this on the Rails listserv. I got a couple of responses. So yeah, if there's anything anybody's using to kind of track, like specifically kind of like patron like behavior, issues, and like tracking like who's been suspended and things like that. So if anybody is using anything specific.
We don't use anything at Prospect Heights, but I came from Downers Grove, and they use PITS, which is patron incident tracking software. It worked pretty well.
Yeah, thank you. I got that one on my list as well. So perfect. Anybody else? Okay.
I am looking for some printer management software, specifically toner levels. I've had some software, it's not worked very well. I'm just curious what other people are using just to monitor. I've got 20 printers and, trying to stay on top of the toners. I don't wait for people to call me when they get down to 2 or 3%. I just go and replace these toners, so I need to stay on top of it.
What kind of printers are you using?
Mostly HP. I got 2 Xerox, but everything else is HP.
I was gonna say most of the newer HPs, I think, if you go into the whatchamacallit details with their web address or whatever into the settings, you can set up email notifications for that. And that's what we do for a lot of our HP printers for the toner levels. And you can kind of set like if it's like 15%, 10%, whatever. I think they're all presets in there. You can take a look at the settings there and you can send yourself email alerts. That's what we do for a lot of our, most of our printers are HP too, and that's what we do. And it
Okay,
works
good.
pretty well for me. So, okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, in line to what Kevin is saying, our vendor is ISBS. So they maintain the toner supply. They ask for approval if we want to approve. And we also have built-in number of pages in it, so that printing becomes cheaper. So effectively, other than a fixed monthly cost, we just pay for paper.
Yeah, you can negotiate that with ISBS for the copiers. Do you guys use the FM audit, I think software is what they have require? Yeah, so ISBS will require you to have FM audit software installed somewhere on your network there. I feel like I put it on a virtual guest at some point at my old place, but yeah, that will track all of that for them, and then they will just send you that stuff notification. You like Smarty was saying, just approve it. So.
I did come across some other software unrelated to printing that I'm really enjoying right now. It's called Action One. It's a patch management software. Anybody using that? It's free if you have under 100 computers. I thought I was doing a pretty good job of patching. Windows have a Windows Update server, and Ninite we were using and stuff. They started using this, and holy cow, there's a lot of stuff there that you miss that you don't know about. Action One, take a look at it. It's keeping me busy. There's a lot of stuff that's out of date that you don't realize. Zoom, for instance, was originally installed as a per person software. And so when you update it, it only updates as that person logs in. And so when you uninstall it, you have to uninstall the whole software before you can install just a per machine version. But that's one of the things that I was alerted to using this software. I like the free part best, but it's pretty robust. Worth a look at.
Hey, Mark, maybe in all our meetings, you should have a section where people can give us some tips as to what are the best practices they are doing.
That's something we could do. I mean, that's kind of what I guess we could add that as a new category, tips, but that also issues from the floor technically can, if anyone has great advice, now is the time to do it. So, any more questions or timely advice from anyone? If and I saw there was a Kevin posted a question if anyone needs 455-foot Cat6 Ethernet cables or some number of those. I do not.
Kevin, where were you 3 months ago when I needed them? I bought them.
Cat6 5-foot cables, great.
Okay. If that is it, then our next meeting is scheduled for June 19. We'll be electing, although, oops, I made a mistake. Apparently the agenda put 2023. It will not be in 2023. The next meeting will be in June 2024. And we'll be electing our new slate of officers at that time. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor of adjourning at this time? Okay. Well, thanks for coming online, and see you in a few months.